UnBadding, we're UnBadding, baby. We're on a journey, baby. We're UnBadding, baby. We're UnBadding.
Hey everybody, welcome back to UnBadding. I'm Jessica Presley.
And I'm Dayna Pereira.
How's everybody doing this week? Dayna, how are you doing this week?
You know what? We're getting through it. It's at the time of recording. I'm sure this won't come out for a couple of weeks, but at the time of recording, it is Memorial Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Today is Monday, so actual Memorial Day. So my husband was off. I was able to go out with the kids. We went out and had lunch today. It was a good time. We had a good time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of had a low-key weekend too. We did a little barbecue action with some friends yesterday, which was pretty fun. And then today just kind of hung out at home, did a little hair situation for my youngest. My kids learned to ride bikes over the weekend, which is new for us.
That's fun.
I know. On Saturday, I was at work and Dave had the kids out at a park, and some friends of ours from school, they're like big like mountain bikers.
Yeah.
And like even their littlest, she's 4 years old. She has her own mountain bike. She does the trails and everything like that.
Oh my God.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so we met them at the park. Dave and the girls met them at the park, and they had one of their bikes there. Now, my kids' bikes, they've had bikes forever, and every time they try to get on them, they fall over. But apparently when you invest in like these mountain bikes that have like gears and stuff, like your kids learn to ride really easy, because Shay just picked the thing up and took off.
Well, they have to be ready for it, I think.
True.
And so Jocelyn, whenever she learned to ride a bike, she flat out refused for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah was like, fuck those pedals. I'm not touching shit.
He wasn't having it.
Nope. And then one day he saw his friends riding and he was like, all right, I'm ready to ride a bike. And
Yeah.
off he went. And I was like, all right, well, I guess, like, I spent so much time being like, oh, my kid's 5 and doesn't know how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
But who the fuck cares?
Who cares if your kid can ride a bike? I don't fucking care if my kid can ride a bike. But you know what? Today they can. And I was so proud. I was like, yes. And Shay felt so proud of herself. Like
Yeah.
when I looked at her little face and she was so excited to show me. And then you know what happened?
She fell.
No. She came home and rode our cheap-ass Walmart bike and couldn't do it and felt terrible about herself. And I had to remind her that it's not about you. It's about the bike. It's the bike, Shay. It's not you. You clearly rode a bike. I have a video of it. Hello.
Well, it's like you started her off with filet mignon and then you brought her home to...
Gave her top sirloin.
You I was going to say hamburger helper, but...
Okay, hamburger helper would be a better analogy.
And she was like, well, fuck, my taste buds must suck because it's kind of the same thing. It's the same animal.
I know.
And it tastes like shit now.
I know. So, needless to say, Dave and Shay also went bike shopping today.
No, so they got new bikes?
Well, we didn't, but we're trying to gain some knowledge about bike life and what that means for us as a family.
That sounds like a lot of work that I want nothing to do with.
Literally, Shay is the anti-outside child,
Mm-hmm.
right? So anything that sparks like even the smallest glow of like excitement to be outside, I'm like, you name it, I'm there.
Oh,
So we're
nice.
doing like this camping thing this weekend.
Ugh. Sorry, that was a visceral reaction that came straight from the gut.
All right, let me bring it around, okay? We're camping in an RV.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you still are not there with me.
You know what? I'm getting warmer to the idea.
Nope, still an ick. All right, so anyway, when we go there, I wanted to bring their bikes, right? And so there was like this push for the bike situation, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, if they get on their bikes or not.
Oh my God. Yeah. Today, whenever I was out at lunch with my family, I actually told my husband today, like, he did something that made my brain hurt so bad that I was like, I'm using you as content on the show tonight. So he's telling me about our neighbors down the street because he had taken the kids down to the park and he was on his way back. And he was, talking to the neighbors. And he was like, yeah, and they have like a live-in nanny. And I was like, really?
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, they have like 2 twin girls. I think they're about 5 years old. Adorable. And I was like, man, live-in nanny, like good for you. That is awesome. He was like, yeah, I saw them like walking down the street and there was this older woman with them. She was probably like late 50s-ish. And I was like, oh, that must be the nanny. And I was like, okay, so honey,
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Hold on. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Were you thinking in that moment what I'm thinking in this moment?
What are you thinking in this moment?
I'm thinking that's probably not the nanny.
So in my head, I was like, I know that my husband tends to gather images and then spit out a fact that has nothing to do with those images. And so I said to him, honey, did he actually tell you that they had a live-in nanny? Or did you just assume because you saw a woman with them that they had a live-in nanny? And he was like, well, no, he didn't tell me.
Oh, honey. So is this like the grandma or
I said there are so many other people in their lives that could have been. It could have been grandma. It could have been an old friend. It could have been a cousin, an aunt. Who knows?
Endless possibilities.
Endless possibilities. But you told me as a fact that it was their live-in nanny.
And I got jealous. When you were telling me that story, I felt jealousy because of that fact. And now it maybe isn't even true.
How did you just see 2 people with children and an older woman and just jump to that's their live-in nanny? Like, this is what is wrong with the world.
Vast assumptions.
You are the problem. It's me. Hello. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is wrong.
Yeah. How does Joe feel about being your content?
He loves it.
Oh, good.
He's like,
So he gives you lots.
endless.
So
Endless.
Good. So good.
Yes. Yes. See, that's the great thing about parenting. And we decided that we were going to do a little talking about parenting, kids kidding, and parents parenting. And the thing is, before you have kids, you have all of these ideas in your head. Like, I'm going to have a live-in nanny.
So many ideas.
My kids would never do that. Screen time is bullshit. My kids will never have a screen in front of their face.
Never.
They're going to love broccoli because I'm going to feed them broccoli the second that they're born. And then they're going to love it because I know how to parent, even though I've never parented a damn thing.
Literally was me.
Yeah.
Especially because I had an older sister who had parents and I got to judge all her parenting things and be like, I would never do that. She's doing it all wrong. What does she even know about parenting? I know everything about parenting. The one with no kids. And then I had to and realized I don't know a damn thing.
My son legit gagged on green beans at 4 months old.
Which one?
Kai, 4 months old, I gave him green beans and he went, and I was like, if the kid tells me he doesn't like green beans in 5 years, I'm going to believe him because I just watched him gag on green beans. The thing is, you don't get to choose what your kids are like. They are a different personality, and all of the hopes and dreams that you have for them, you might as well just ball them up and stick them up your ass.
Just get rid of them right away, because what's going to happen is that you're going to come to this realization that your children are uniquely individually themselves, and everything that you thought they would be, could be, maybe isn't going to happen. And you have to genuinely learn who they are and support them.
Yes, they are born a certain damn way, and it is not up to you what they do. Now, the other thing that I had to learn is that who I thought I would be as a parent before I had kids, who I thought my husband would be as a parent, I was convinced that he was going to be the worst. Like, he was going to be a robot. He was going to have no emotions. I actually told him, like, whenever I was having our first child, I was like, I know you're not even going to cry whenever we're in there. Like, it's your
He's like
first.
AI dad.
Yeah. You're just like, beep, bop, boop, boop.
I am a father.
I was convinced. And the man completely, it's like, I'm the asshole. I had these expectations because of how he was in our relationship. Joe isn't a feeler of emotions. He doesn't show emotions. I get him a birthday present or a Christmas present and he opens it and I'm ready for him to jump for joy with fucking excitement. And he goes, cool, thanks. I hate that.
It's another episode, Dayna. Relax. You know what's funny is that as you're saying this, I'm realizing, and we've mentioned before that our husbands are pretty opposite, but I'm realizing that my husband is a feeler and a lover and like totally a kid guy and all of those things. But his experience parenting, also very different.
Yeah.
Also very different. Parenting brings out something inside of you that you just don't even know until you have children, because all those things inside get worked up. All of that childhood trauma comes up. Everything that you said you wouldn't do, you do, and it comes up. You don't know who you are. And let me rephrase that. There's another level of yourself that you get to learn if you choose to be a parent.
People don't realize, and this is for all you people out there that haven't had children yet, you don't know who you're going to be whenever you change. And I know that people can tell you that until they're blue in the face. They can say it over and over again. People told me that same thing over and over and over again. You don't know until you experience it. Oh, sure, you know who you are when you're Uncle Johnny. When it is your own child that you have to parent, that you have to raise, all of your traumas, insecurities,
Triggers
come out in your parenting. And it is difficult to keep those at bay because you see little you in your little child, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I don't want you to be like me, so I need to try and control everything because if you're like me, I'm fucked. I didn't do a good job.
right? Please don't repeat everything that I did.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like in a way, even like this idea of UnBadding, right? It has like come from my experience as a mother.
Yeah.
Being a mother has been one of the most life-changing experiences. Like, I've gotten married, I've traveled, I've had different jobs, but being a mother has completely changed my life and has made me look at myself in such an objective way that I really want to parent or be myself, not even just parent, just be myself with intention. And it's made me realize just how much of who I was just by default, based on the environment that I grew up in, based on the culture I was raised in, and that none of it was like that I really sat back and thought about, like, what do I want to be? Who do I think I am? Who do I choose to be? And I feel like when I'm not default parenting, I'm choosing to be the parent that I want to be, and also choosing to be maybe even the parent that I needed when I was a little kid.
I think that's it right there, is that a lot of times whenever I'm making decisions with my children, I am thinking, what did I need at that point? What did I need whenever I was that age? A lot of people don't like the way that I parent. I'm very open, especially with my older ones. I talk about sex. I talk about drugs. I talk about alcohol. I don't just talk about it whenever they dabble in those things. I'm a very understanding parent. I want to hear them out. I want them to know that you smoked weed. You're still a good person. Do I love it? No, I don't. Your frontal lobe hasn't developed yet.
You like, give it like another 10 years, okay?
Yeah.
Smoke all the weed you want.
But you're a kid and you are going to make mistakes. And the last thing I want to do is make you feel like you're a terrible human being for it.
Right. Right. And whenever you were bringing that up about like the parent that talks about sex, the parent that talks about drugs and all of those things, it's like you don't just talk about them with your kids in a sense that you're talking at them and like, don't have sex and don't do drugs. And if you do, then you need to do X, Y, Z. Like you have a very fluid, open relationship with your kids in those ways. And that's something that I really look up to you about and something that I know that I can learn from you for my kids moving forward. Because so many times I'm trying to like guide them and teach them and want to teach them right from wrong. But sometimes I just need to be a listener and I just need to relate to them of my own experiences and remember what it's like to be a 16-year-old or remember what it's like to be a 17-year-old and not just be the parent. And I think you do a really great job at that.
Thank you. I've done a lot of drugs in my life.
Put it out there.
I have. I've done cocaine. I've done ecstasy. I've done acid. I've done shrimp. Like the only thing I haven't done is like heroin and I think crystal meth. I mean, it's up in the air.
Who knows?
It's possible, but like I haven't done like super super hard stuff. Although I mean, some may argue that some of the shit that I've done is hard stuff.
Perspective.
I tell my kids that too. I'm like, listen, cocaine is great.
That is a good time.
It is great, but it also sucks. And it can ruin your damn life if you have an addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
So many things that I have dabbled in, and I like to share those things because I want my kids to know that I'm not just saying it at you because I want you to think that you need to be a perfect person. I'm telling you that from experience, unless you want to be up at 4:30 a.m. taking a toothbrush to your vents, you might want to stick away from cocaine.
Probably don't want to try that one.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of things out there. I know whenever it comes to sex and teenagers, there's a lot of shame involved with that.
What was your experience growing up with sex?
I was terrified of it, honestly. So scared. The first time I ever kissed somebody, I was 12 in a closet. And he drooled all over my shirt.
I remember that. Weren't we at like Leah's house?
We were at Leah's house. We were in her
Yeah.
basement. Cody, you drooled all over my shirt.
Damn you, Cody.
He was the cutest kid in 6th grade. He was a very wet kisser.
Does any 12-year-old know how to kiss, really?
I don't think so. No.
Thank God.
Yeah. So we did 7 minutes in heaven.
Mm-hmm. I remember this down in the basement.
For me, it was 7 minutes in an aquarium.
7 minutes in hell.
Yeah. So I kissed him. I was 12. I did not kiss another person until I was 17.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were terrified of it.
So scared.
Yeah, so scared.
And then, so I lost my virginity whenever I was a couple of months away from turning 18.
So you were living with Dad. What was Dad's like sex talk? What did he tell you?
He didn't. He was just like, don't get knocked up and don't get caught by the police. You know, like that was.
Did you get arrested for that?
Like I remember having a pack of cigarettes that I must have dropped because I started smoking when I was 12 also. 12, I was like, yeah, I used to.
What happened at 12?
At the doctor's office, when they say, were you a smoker? I have to say yes because I smoked from the time I was 12 till I was 21.
That's 10 years. That's a solid amount of time of nicotine.
Oh, God. That's a whole other thing, too. But Dad was the kind of guy that he didn't really talk about stuff. He found my cigarettes. I had dropped them somewhere. He picked them up. He threw them up the steps and he said, Dayna, you dropped your cigarettes.
Mm-hmm. That was definitely a Dad thing to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It wasn't like he didn't make me feel bad about anything, which I think is why I wanted to be around him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that even if I was fucking up, even if I was doing something stupid, He was barely judging me.
He was just like so
Even keeled.
cool,
Mhm.
calm, and collected all the time. Like I've never really seen him explode.
Mm-mm.
Never.
No, I don't think I ever really did either.
Do you remember the time? I think Mom was out of town, and I was supposed to be staying at Dad's with
he was
you.
mad at me
And we went
then.
up to Penn State, I
Mm.
think, and we took my car and we drove up there, and he was like, where were you guys? What you're doing? We're like, nothing. We're just hanging out. And I remember me going back home to Mom's house, and he was like, you might want to wash all the dead bugs off the front of your car. And I was like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Oh, no, he actually got really
Did he
mad
get
at me
mad
for
at you
that
for
because I was 18 and you were 17.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were 17, I could have gotten him and me in a
Oh.
lot of trouble. And he was pissed about that. But I didn't care because
Because
had
I was
fun.
18 and we had
I
fun
was
at Penn State.
So cool.
Anyway. Anyway, back to the sex. Like your experience and my experience was so different because I had like a pretty steady boyfriend in high school.
I would,
And I was
like,
definitely doing the sex.
years you were with him.
Yes, I was. And I remember Mom saying to me, like, I have to I'm going to mess it up, but it was something along the lines of like, well, if you're having sex, you better be on birth control. And that was like the end of it. And I was like, already am.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, she had done enough to let me know that like, if you need birth control, you go to Planned Parenthood and you get some birth control. And I was able to do that at 16 years old or 15 years old, however old I was. And yeah, it was kind of like, there wasn't really a whole lot of talk about it. Very unsimilar to the relationship that you have with your older boys. But it was kind of like, well, if you're doing it, this is what you do. But I think that in that generation, that was kind of like progressive.
100%. And the thing that is different is I don't want my kids to be afraid to tell me things,
Right.
even if they think it might get them in trouble. And so, especially with sex, there's so much shame
Mm-hmm.
around sex and teenagers that are naturally exploring their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
masturbating, like just getting to know themselves and then learning what the opposite sex, if that is what they are attracted to, or the same sex, if they, like trying to figure out who you are sexually as a person is a lot.
It's a lot. And imagine like, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, when we were at this point in our lives, when we were trying to figure out who we are sexually, like your children, your older ones, and our younger ones have such a different experience of trying to figure out who they are sexually. And I think that one, that has to do with time, and two, it has to do with location.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you're in the very small town that maybe isn't very liberal or open-minded, that if you have a gay child or a child that is struggling with, let me rephrase that, not struggling, but maybe a child who is trying to identify who they are from a gender norm, it's a very different experience.
We had a friend in high school who, by all accounts, was gay. And then all of a sudden,
Like, who is this friend?
oh, I'll tell you, and I'll
Okay.
take out his name.
Okay. Oh, okay. He's straight.
He's now straight. Yeah, he also converts young gay children into straight children.
Oh, wow. Wow. So he's like gone straight to the like over the top evangelical Christian, pray the gay away and they will be good.
Yes.
Oh, my heart.
And that's exactly how I feel is, my heart. This
Mhm.
man never got to fully express who he is as an individual. And that is not something that I ever want my kids to be afraid of. Now, I cannot control everything. Society tells you a lot of things.
So much.
Social media is out there. And sometimes on social media, sometimes it makes it really, really easy for people to feel at home with other people and to express themselves. And again, sometimes it makes it really, really hard because you have a lot of bashing and awful things on social media. And I just want my kids to, no matter what it is, if it is drinking, tell me about it. We'll figure it out. I'm also going to keep my eyes and ears open because I don't want you to drink to numb. So I'm going to have to figure out, like, are we doing this to numb? Is there an underlying issue here? So my parenting brain is constantly going to protect my children. It's also because it makes me feel good to nurture other people. I feel safest when I know that all of the people around me feel safe. And that in turn has me on high alert 100% of the time.
Yeah, I can relate to that idea of being on high alert or, kind of scanning the room unconsciously.
Yes.
It's not like something that I'm like, oh, check that off the list. But I do realize that there are times where I'm like so much more aware of what's going on or where children are or what people are doing what in situations where like everyone's just kind of like in the moment and having a good time. And I'm like super vigilant.
Yeah. What's going on? Scan the room. Can anybody get hurt with,
Yeah.
And coming from a point where I'm on two different parenting journeys right now. I have the teenagers that are about to fly the coop, and then we have the little ones also. And it is not the same across the board.
Was your experience with your older ones different when they were little than the little ones you have now?
Yes, because I was different.
Yeah, so true.
I, if I'm being honest, was not the best version of myself as a parent. I've had this conversation with my teenagers also. I'm ashamed of the ways that I reacted whenever they were little. I spanked them when they did something. I am not for spanking.
Isn't spanking something, though, that's just like the thing that you do when you don't know what to do? Like,
yes.
You're like, I don't know what to do right now, and everything seems out of control, and so I guess I'm just going to spank you.
The only way that I can control you is to make you, like, wither away from
Like
me in
assert
fear.
my dominance. Right.
I am not proud of that. I remember when Mason, God fucking damn it, I might cry actually.
Aww.
Mason was little, and I don't even remember. He got into a fight, I think, with one of the kids, and I got him in the car, and I looked at him, and I said, I'm going to beat your ass when we get home. And I told him the entire way home. Like, I wanted him to be so afraid of me. And he had to have been fucking petrified because I was like, I am going to spank your ass. Like, you embarrassed me by getting into this fight. Again, I am so ashamed of some of the parenting choices that I made with the teenagers whenever they were young. Luckily, I grew out of it. Luckily, my eyes were open to it, and I now recognize how damaging that is to a child. And I will not make that mistake again. I talk to Mason and Kai about it. I tell them all the time, like, listen, guys, I made some poor ass choices with you. I was a young kid whenever I had young kids.
Yeah.
And I didn't do great all the time. They're doing pretty good, though.
They are.
They are.
They are doing pretty good. And I think that your transparency with them and your vulnerability with them and your ability to be self-aware and look back and say, I missed the mark on that.
I think
really
it's
helps
important.
them heal from those things, or any things that maybe were stuck for them
Yeah.
can kind of come undone and work themselves out because you gave them space to do that.
I think taking ownership of your mistakes. There's the quote out there that says, what is it? Like, you do the best that you can, and then whenever you know better, you do better.
That's Maya Angelou. Know better, do better.
Oh, and I love that because I'm like, that's all that we can do as parents, as humans, as women, as, like beings walking this earth is we are here to learn. And we, unfortunately, the way that we all learn is different. And a lot of the things that we're learning is from childhood. And I hope that if I can do just 10% better than what I grew up with,
Right.
and my kids can do 10% better than what they grew up with.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. That makes me think back to of course, I can only think of the generations back that I know of. Right. And so I think of grandma or I think of her experience. And then I think of our mother's experience. And she didn't have it easy. It was really hard for her and her siblings, incredibly hard for them. And I have so much compassion for their experience. But then also, if I look at our experience objectively, we didn't have it easy either.
No.
But we had it better than she had.
Yes.
And she had it better than her parents had. And so I feel like sometimes there's just this unraveling of trauma that has to happen, and we're all trying to do better. I don't think that any parent goes into it with the intent of damaging or hurting or abusing their children.
Yeah.
But I think that, like we said earlier, you don't know who you are until you have children, or you don't know your triggers until you have children. Having children is one of the most incredible experiences in that you literally get to relive your entire childhood. Everything that comes up is something from your childhood. If you're triggered, it's from your childhood.
Every single time.
Every single time. And so this experience that you had with Mason and Kai, giving them the space to heal from your delinquent parenting style. You were a kid.
Yeah.
You were a kid.
Juvenile,
you were so
delinquent
young.
parenting
Juvenile. And also they have the opportunity to see how you do it differently, because they're witness to the way that Jocelyn and Jonah are being raised, and they're able to see and experience as adolescents and older children what it's like to have a parent that is tuned in and dialed in to who they are as people, and not just being reactive, really being able to respond and not just reacting out of, whatever trigger is being hit at the time.
Yeah. And so, like I said, with Jocelyn and Jonah, it's a very different experience. And I get very triggered by the spanking thing in particular. I just had an argument with a person, a discussion.
We'll call it a passionate discussion.
With a friend of mine, because he is very demand respect. I'll give you something to cry about kind of a thing. And in what I have learned over time is that I had it really hard with Mason and Kai. Being a mom with them was fucking hard. But it was not their fault that it was hard. They weren't asshole kids. I was an asshole parent.
Right. And you were still growing up and learning and figuring out how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Go gadget words.
Yeah.
You weren't a dysregulated parent. You were able to regulate yourself as a woman, and then make a choice, not just react on the first thing that was happening.
I love really leaning into my mistakes these days. I love it. I love showing my kids that mommy screws up all the time, because I want them to know it's okay to screw up and that it doesn't stop. I will be screwing up for the rest of my life. Mistakes will be made. Some of them are going to be big. Some of them are going to suck. Some of them I'm going to be ashamed of. Some of them I'm going to be really sorry for. Some of them I'm going to take a lot of time to realize that I'm ashamed and sorry for.
Right. I think that there's a paradigm shift there, because it's now as parents, I feel like it's okay to admit that we don't know it all.
Yeah.
But for so long, parents just had to always have the answers, right? I just know better. I know everything. I have the answers to everything. If I don't know, I'm probably going to make it up. And you'll accept that as truth. But you know what? Our kids are smarter than that, and they have the internets.
Yes.
So, like, we can't do that anymore.
Well, because back in the day, we would say like, well, Samantha's parents let her do it. And they would say, well, am I Samantha's parent?
Right. Right. And that was answer enough for you. No.
That was it. No, that makes total sense, Mom. You're absolutely not.
Totally.
But these days, it is a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm just really into. So, like, for you, when you have a tough day with the girls, are you a parent that says like, "Yo, my bad. I was overwhelmed. I had big feelings. I took them out in the wrong way."
100%. I 100% am. Those moments are getting less and less. But when they were little, when we were all at home, when we were like, didn't have a choice but to be at home, like my mommy mistakes happened a lot. They were very frequently, they were daily, they were multiple times a day. And so I got to this point where I was like having to repair all the time. And my kids have been in therapy from a young age. I am a total proponent of therapy. Both of my kids are adoptees. I want them to know how to process their feelings. I want them to be taught how to understand where they feel feelings in their body. So, you know, in doing therapy, like I've learned that with my kids, it's the repair that matters. It's not the mess up, because the mess up's going to happen. It's the repair. And so I try to give myself a lot of grace. I'm not always good at it.
Yeah.
A lot of times I really beat myself up over my parenting mistakes. But I am definitely the parent that's like, missed the mark on that one. I did not do that right. I even do like redos. I'm like, you know what? I don't really like how I sounded when I was talking to you there. Like I was kind of reacting. I was overwhelmed. The music was loud. Like, can I have a redo?
Yeah.
And I might like pause it all right there and then like back up and totally redo it, and almost in like a scripted way for them. Because oftentimes when my kids are even talking to each other and they're sounding like kind of mean or kind of nasty,
You hear yourself.
I do hear myself, but I also give them an opportunity to say it different. And I'm like, you know, maybe you could say to her instead, I don't really want you to touch my thing right now. When I'm done with it, you can have a turn later.
Yeah.
Or this is new to me and it still feels really special, so I'm not ready to share it yet. Instead of like, don't touch my stuff, I hate you.
Yeah.
You know, like just giving them opportunities to say it in another way that is more respectful. And I do believe that this is a big one. I think that respect is a big one in parenting. I think as parents, we think that we deserve respect, right? And this might be an unpopular opinion.
I'm with you. I'm on board.
I know you're on my train and we're going together.
You're fast.
I do believe that in order to get respect from your children, you have to model respect, and model respect comes from respecting your children. And if I'm using shameful tones and talking to them nasty, how do I expect them to turn around and talk to me and be like, yes, Mom, no problem. I'll pick up my clothes from the floor and put them in the hamper.
After you just made them feel like total garbage.
Right. And made them feel this big for getting their pajamas on the floor, whatever.
Yes. I am with you with that. I 100% believe that you don't just get respect. You earn respect, and you do it by giving respect.
It's a two-way street.
I earn my children's respect by respecting them. They don't owe me anything. The parenting mantra that I fucking hate the most is whenever they're like, I brought you into this world, I could take you out of it.
Yeah, but you know what? This is something that I think of too. These kids didn't ask to be brought into this world.
Exactly.
This was your choice. You chose to have kids.
Good.
We act like they're this major inconvenience to us. But really, like, we chose, I filled out paperwork for this and signed my name on the line and gave documents and had people write letters about me. Like, I applied for this. So how can I turn around and make my kids feel like there's some major inconvenience in my life?
That is something that, I mean, again, we're just like right here. We got each other.
Simpatico.
Yeah, my children did not ask to be brought into this world. I made the decision to bring them into this world. They owe me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I owe them. I owe them respect. I owe them love. I owe them nurturing. I owe them taking care of them. I owe them everything because I made the decision to bring them into this world. Too many parents out there are saying, I brought you into this world. You owe me.
Mm-hmm.
I take you to practice. You owe me. I made your dinner for 18 years. You owe me.
Mm-mm.
And that, I just disagree so hard with that mindset because they do not owe you anything. You brought them into this world. You made a contract with yourself when you decided to bring that child into your home, into your world, that you are their nurturer. You are their caregiver. You are their parent. Like, you are the one that made that decision.
Absolutely.
And I hate it when they're like, my kids owe me. I did. Now, don't get me wrong. I will joke around and be like, ugh, I took you to every practice for the last, like.
It's hard not to think that, though.
It's hard because you give so much of yourself.
You give so much of yourself. And I think that as parents, we just sacrifice. There's so much sacrifice in parenting. And I feel like what I've noticed about myself outside of the parenting world is that the times where I feel most triggered are often whenever I am allowing somebody else to cross my boundary. Right? And I feel like when there's sacrifice with kids, you allow them to cross so many boundaries because you want to do for them. But then whenever it doesn't turn out the way that you expected, or they don't show you appreciation in the way that you feel you deserved, it's really easy to turn around and be like, I do this, and this for you. And so it's like, for instance, Dave will say to me sometimes, anytime we ask Shay, this is such a small example, but anytime we ask our oldest daughter, what do you want for dinner? She's like, I want sushi. And Dave's like, damn it, it's going to cost us $200 to have dinner because this kid wants sushi. And I'm like, when she was 8 months old and we went out to dinner as two single people and you were like feeding her salmon, like
now she loves it.
Now she loves it. Like all of these things that were like, you bougie ass kids, like we did that to them. We did it. We showed them the way.
We absolutely did. And you're right. It's so easy to look at them and be like, what the fuck? Whenever Mother's Day was happening a couple weeks back, my daughter was making me like love letters and drawing me pictures, and so sweet. So sweet. And my little angel baby face son said, Mommy, I'm not going to do nothing for you.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, that feels great. So thanks.
He's like, because I'm the cutest and I don't have to do anything because you're still going to love me.
But that's his whole thing, is a lot of times he'll like, I remember specifically, whenever you look at your kids and you just love them so much. Like it's
like physical, visceral.
Up inside you, and you're looking at them and you could just cry staring at them, thinking about how much you love them. Yes. Jonah I made him a corn dog one day and he was just eating lunch and I'm just watching him like, beaver away at this corn dog. And it was so cute. And I was just like feeling all the feelings. I was just staring at him. And he's like, why are you looking at me? And I said, baby, mommy loves you so much. And he went, mommy, I love this corn dog.
You're like, thank you. Because I made it from scratch, you know.
I went to Costco
I
on
went
my
to
own time.
When I could have been at home napping to get you that corn dog.
I love a nap. I love a nap. I
Who doesn't?
sacrificed that nap.
Yes, the sacrifice. It runs deep. And so we feel like they owe us.
Yeah.
We feel like they owe us constantly. And it's hard not to get committed to that feeling. And sometimes I have to like check myself and be like, she didn't know me this.
Yeah. And it's also like, again, you do. You give. And sometimes it sucks when it's your birthday and your kids are like, I don't feel like going to dinner with you. And you're like, well, shit, that hurts. That's rough. You know?
But like, is dinner with children ever fun?
No.
No, let's let that go.
Yes.
Let's let that go. I think it's okay to celebrate alone.
Well, I mean, we talked about it. Mother's Day next year is going to look very different for me than it did this year. In fact, I think all celebrations moving forward where I deserve to treat myself,
Treat yourself.
it's going to look very different, I think, going forward.
Yeah, and that's okay. That is definitely okay. I saw this this girl on TikTok, and she was like unraveling, sobbing, so upset, and it was about Mother's Day. And she was like, why are me and my mother and my sister planning Mother's Day for the mothers? Right? And my heart went out to her because that's definitely something that's a struggle, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we can eliminate all of that by leaving. Like, you know, you want to spend Mother's Day with your mom and your sister, go do that.
Yeah.
And like, don't coordinate anything other than your reservation, your massage, and your champagne afterwards.
I would love for just my family to leave me.
Oh, yeah. That's like,
Just
that's
go
where it's at.
somewhere for a little bit of time. Let me recharge my batteries in my own space. Because I like my space. I really, really like
a
my
good
space.
space.
So that's what I want to do.
There's that. Well, here's to looking forward. Here's to looking forward.
Cheers. There's mug in this glass.
Yes, there's lots of mug in there. Oh, that's great.
There's wine in this glass.
There's wine in this mug.
Fuck me, man.
She'll get there. It's okay.
I will eventually. Mondays are my worst days because my brain is mush. Done too much parenting on Mondays.
Yeah, because you know you had the whole day Saturday and Sunday.
That's a lot.
It is.
So how do you feel your children are about to be home for the summer?
Terrified is the answer to your question.
That is like it's very scary because you have to be around them all the time. And that's another thing I would like to bring up about motherhood, parenthood, fatherhood, whatever hood you're in. You do not need to want to be around your kids all the time.
Yeah, all the time is excessive and it's hard. And I think that like, let's also touch base on like some children are more lax and go with the flow. Some children are more high maintenance and a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And after coming off of 5 days of being homesick with both of my children, I realized that the summer camps I was turning my nose up to and poo-pooing and being like, oh, everyone has to be in summer camp. What's the deal with summer camp? I never went to summer camp. I turned out fine. I was like, let me get all the summer camps.
Yeah. How many summer camps is
How
there
many
one
summer
every week?
There's one every week.
Oh, are they going to summer camp
Oh,
every?
yeah. So many camps.
That is beautiful.
Lots of camps. All the camps.
Wow. They're going to learn so much.
They're going to be the smartest kids ever.
But, you know, it actually brings me to a point. There are not parents, I'm sorry. There are people out there that actively decide that children are not for them.
Mm-hmm.
And to those people, I say kudos.
100%.
Good for you for recognizing that it's not your bag. It's not something that you want to be a part of. And people do it for a lot of different reasons, whether it's they had a terrible childhood, they don't want to pass on their gene pool, or, whatever it might be. I have a lot of friends that have decided in their lives that parenting, it's not for them.
I just feel like as women, and not to leave men out of this, of course, men can make this decision too, but I think culturally women have a lot more pressure to become mothers.
Yes.
And so I just feel like women have become so much more self-aware, so much more independent, have really just taken a hold of their life and lived their life for them as who they are as an individual, not necessarily for whatever cultural norm that they feel the pressure to live. And I think that is so respectable. I love women who are brave enough to stand up for exactly what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that's having children, not having children, being a stay-at-home mom, being a working mom, being in a heterosexual relationship, being in a homosexual relationship, whatever it is, I feel like if you are choosing for who you are and what you want, I give mad respect to that. Because so many of us have just fallen into what was expected of us. And I feel like a lot of children who have had really hard childhoods are products of women who did what was expected of them and maybe wasn't truly what they wanted.
100%. I think for me, the key is, am I leading with love in this decision? Am I leading with love or am I leading with fear? And so a lot of times in parenting, in any decision that I'm making for myself, I really have to sit with that for a while and try and see, like, am I doing this because I'm fearful? Or am I doing this for love of myself?
Mm-hmm. It's a hard one sometimes to navigate because I think that fear can convince you of anything.
It can.
It really can. I actually received a text message from my husband today that was like, I'm just really fearful of our youngest when she's a teenager.
Well,
And in that moment, I said exactly that to him. And I said to him, you know what? Like, we just have to understand that we can parent her from a place of love and connection and understanding and compassion and not fear of what could go wrong. Because when you focus on what could go wrong, that's what happens. When you focus on what can go right, that's what happens.
I really, I'm the worst. So after becoming a parent, and maybe this wasn't even after becoming a parent, maybe this was just getting older, you start to realize mortality a little bit more, a lot bit more in my case. After having children, imagine the worst case scenario when your child was not tucked onto your boob or under your arm or whatever in your vicinity. I would imagine it.
I remember you doing that.
House fires, car accidents, drowning in the pool. Like, me leaving my children with other people, I would spiral the whole week beforehand if mom was coming to watch them or if Chris was watching them or whatever. And then I would have to do all the things to prevent the bad things from happening. Because I wasn't going to be in control of those situations if I was not present. That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. I think the over-controller is a tough one with parenting because you can't control everything.
No.
You really can't. And I think that the over-controller of parenting while you're married is like just a shot to the heart of your marriage.
I would like for you to elaborate more on that.
I mean, I am the over-controller, so I know.
Yeah.
And right now, my husband and I are in the process of literally unbadding that.
Yeah.
because I want to tell him all the reasons that he messed up or all the ways that he messed up and he didn't do it my way. And he would say to me all the time, just because it's not your way doesn't mean it's not right. And I would I didn't even understand that. I was like, everything doesn't have to be my way. What are you talking about? But it did,
Well,
because it's the only way I felt safe.
you also go to that point where you look at like my husband giving me his content with the live-in nanny. I was like staring at him like, why does your brain hurt my brain? Why, how the fuck did you make that leap, and why? So automatically I was putting myself above him and kind of like diminishing him, when in reality he just thinks different than I do.
Right. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Realizing and acknowledging and respecting that people just think of things different than you do. For my husband and I feel like, one, it was like us building trust that his way will work. I have a tendency to be either super gentle with my kids or totally unraveled. Like the middle of the road hasn't been there for a long time. And that's something that I've worked really hard to find, that neutral zone. And so I think that my husband was kind of there too. In his experience, he's had, and then therefore repeated, either very gentle or totally coming unraveled.
Yeah.
And so I feel like when he was unraveled, it would trigger me because I hated the parts of me that were unraveled. And so I would then attack him. And so I would be like, if I wasn't in control of how he was acting, then somehow something terrible would happen. And it was kryptonite to our marriage. It took us to some really dark places, to some really hard places. And I feel like it wasn't until he and I came to a point or a place where he and I both respected each other's pasts and respected the work that we were both putting in, that we could respect where each other are, and then also kind of relinquish some control and trust that the other one was able to navigate whatever it was that was going on with our kids.
And also trusting that the other one has the best intentions at heart, that they're not out to like hurt anybody or get anybody. It's hard when it comes to other people's pasts.
Right.
And I think that if we look at them as children, almost like trying to heal their inner child, also ourselves and our inner child and what we need, it makes you a lot more compassionate towards that person, a little more understanding for the things that they had to go. Because honestly, if I look at my grown-ass man husband and he does something dumb, I'm like, you're a grown-ass man. Your frontal lobe is fully developed. That was fucking stupid.
Right.
And I don't have compassion for it. But if I look at it from the point of view of him as a child, and this is what he grew up with, this is what he knows, this is what he learned, and this is what he's trying to unbad, you have a little more love, respect, compassion, empathy
Definitely.
for that person.
Definitely. I feel like one of the ways I've really tried a lot of things to like will myself to be this more glued together, calm, responsive parent that I wanted to be, not the default parent that I became. And one of the things that has worked for me, and I've tried many things, but one of the things was in those moments where I'm feeling super escalated, was to think to myself, what would I want when I was a child in this situation? How would I want my mother to respond to me? Or how can I respond to like little Jess in this situation? And that has been so powerful.
You want to know what I do?
What? Yeah, I do. I do. I want to know what you do.
I pretend like I'm a reality show and that there's cameras on
Like
me.
a Kardashian?
Yes, there's cameras on me at all time. And how would I want to present myself to the world, because I give a shit what they think. And so that honestly is what brought me out of some of my darkest times when I would feel myself spiraling or losing control or getting agitated or being a version of myself that I didn't want to be. I would pretend that there were cameras all around the house and that they were watching me and airing me to the entire world. And how would I want to be presented in that moment?
That's powerful.
It really was.
When you think about it on like that magnitude, like what would you want people to see about you? That's powerful.
Yes. Yeah, it worked. It still works. I still do it. Although now I have actual cameras in my house because we're going on vacation and I don't want the teenagers to have a party.
They're going to have a party.
They're going to have a party.
Yeah, sorry. It's just going to happen.
Man, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed this conversation.
I know. I have so many more things that I want to touch on.
I think that we could probably branch this episode out into several different topics at this point. Guys, if you are watching us on YouTube, give us a comment. That actually really, really helps us. And we have a couple of people out there that have been doing that for us. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And also on Apple, if you are listening on Apple, I know we could, beat this like a dead horse. Please, please, please give a rate and a review. It does actually help us out and gets us in front of more people, which is the goal, because we want to be able to reach people, open the conversation to more people, and hear other people's stories.
Yeah, we've all have a lot to unbad. And so don't be selfish with it.
Yeah,
Share
dicks.
it. Share the unbadding, okay? So everybody can unbad together.
We are doing it. And until next time,
we're unbadding, baby.
UnBadding, UnBadding, we're UnBadding, baby. We're on a journey, baby. We're UnBadding, baby. We're UnBadding.